Uh, all right, let's see. It should be going. Here we go. All right, welcome everybody to another week of Blueprint for Peak Performance. Ask me anything. I'm Brandi Smith. I'm the founder of Perfect 10 Physical Therapy and Performance Training. Um, I also am the founder of Perfect 10 PT Academy, which is online courses for coaches, parents, and athletes. I'm trying to let all of you guys back in for some reason. Try to let everybody come in. Oh, it's very weird. I don't know what I did. I meant to let everybody come in. So go ahead and join as panelists if we've allowed you in. So for those of you that don't know me, I am a former two-time collegiate national championship gymnast, and I'm also a performance coach and physical therapist. I specialize in treating gymnasts, cheerleaders, dancers. I work with everything from recreational athletes as little as 3 months old, because we have some preschool programs that you guys are going to hear about coming up, all the way up into Olympic level with some of the athletes in the last cycle, ones that I had worked with who either went as alternates or on the male side were really close to making Olympic team, but didn't go past trials, but have been on several world teams. So I work with various levels of athletes, and in that process, I've gathered a whole way of looking at the whole athlete. And so these webinars are meant for coaches, parents, and athletes to tune in and get on the same page. And we talk everything performance, from nutrition, mindset, to fear, to coaching techniques, to biomechanics, to flexibility, to injury prevention, jump and landing mechanics, you name it. But back by request, last time he was here, we have several, and some of you guys may not know this, but we have several people who actually watch this from other countries. So there was like three different people from different countries, three different countries, who also piped in and said, bring him back, bring him back.
Mm.
So multiple people were here and wanted Coach Levi to come back. So I'm super excited to have Coach Levi here today. And Coach Levi, he caught my eye. I guess on Instagram is how we found each other, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
hmm
caught my eye on Instagram because of his language and what he's doing with tumbling. So today we're going to do Parent and Coach's Guide to Managing, and I want to emphasize that word, managing extreme fear of tumbling. So Coach Levi is a tumbling block specialist. Some of these guys might talk about mental blocks or fear with tumbling. He specializes in getting over that. And so everyone in the country will come to him. He's had some camps. He's got a couple other camps coming up in January. Maybe at the end he can talk about it. But he's really awesome about tumbling blocks, and he has some really cool stuff for moms and for athletes. And so that being said, Coach Levi, come on in and do maybe a better introduction than I did.
What up, guys? No, that was great. Basically, I I run a tumbling gym in Tulsa, Oklahoma. It's where I'm based out of, and I have athletes from all over the nation come through and work with me specifically when they're dealing with extreme fear in their tumbling. I work with athletes. I really enjoy working with parents as well. I have a online community where I have parents from all over the world that are a part of it, similar to something that Brandy hosts, and where people just talk about what they're going through. Because when it comes down to it, a lot of times as a parent, you have no idea what you're doing. You don't know how to help your kid. And I really want to be able to help parents to be able to support their athletes in the way that they need to. And so I do in-person training with athletes. I do a lot of coaches trainings and then train parents as well. But what I've really been, and I don't know, Brandon, if you had any more questions, if I can just kind of segue into talking about some things. And I love question and answer. So anybody that's here, you want to hop in, and Brandy, she'll facilitate it. But ask me any questions. I love just answering things on the spot. So any questions that you may have that's specific to your athlete, if you're a coach, or to your kid, if you're a parent, or if you have some questions about how you can manage as a parent going through this. But Brandy, if I just start talking about some random stuff and then,
Before you go, jump in the
yeah.
chat, you guys, and put in for us whether you're a parent or a coach and what level athlete you're parenting or what level athlete you're coaching, either one. And if we have any athletes hop in, but I think most of them are in school at the moment. That's okay. They'll catch this later. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, because I do know actually several parents and coaches had their girls watch the recordings last time, and
Oh, that's
found
sweet.
that really helpful. So let me just tell you who we have in here, and then you can continue on. Or I can actually, yeah, here we go. So we have a parent of an Excel Platinum, parent of a little 7-year-old, Pei Wei. Her name's Pei Wei, from The Rock. Yeah, yeah. And she's a level 2 gymnast, so she's a little one. And then we watch Coach Levi on TikTok, says
Nice.
Patricia, who's also the Excel parent. And she's also, I think there's a couple of repeats in here. Katie's new though. And then the phone number that's chiming in listening, they're also new. So yeah, so that we have a mix. And then we also have a coach who is the director of all of their programs. And she helps make sure all their coaches are in the gym educated. And
Cool. Love
she
that.
helps with all levels kind of on the artistic side, though their gym
Hmm.
also has acro and ninja and I'm missing something, Excel and DP. So they have a whole bunch of programs. And then we have, oh, and we have also some in here from dance. So, all right,
Nice.
we're
I
there.
work with a lot of dancers also.
Yeah, yeah, they got to do acro. They've got to do acro.
Yeah. Aerials,
And
front
it's
aerials,
becoming, yeah, it's becoming
back
really
handspring step
almost
outs.
almost required in dance now,
It is.
at kind of
It
the
is.
lower levels now. So, all right,
Hmm.
so go on in from there, Levi, take it over.
Yes. Something that the reason why I have success in working with athletes a lot of times, and I'm starting to figure out the reason why when I work with athletes, I have such a high success rate. Because for a long time, I honestly didn't even know why. I mean, there's specific methods and stuff that I was using that I knew was beneficial, but when it came down to it, there were times where um, I didn't know why a kid could walk into my gym and within maybe 10, 15 minutes of us talking and not really getting into anything in depth, they would start doing their skill. And it would blow my mind. And I developed this name that's a silly name. I don't really like it, but people would say it so often it just kind of became what I became known for. But this name, the Tumble Whisperer. And so I've just kind of like leaned into that name, even though I don't really like it that much. But anyways, that's besides the point. The point is, when kids come and work with me, I was trying to figure out myself, why am I able to get these kids to do skills that they've never been able to do or they haven't done in a long time? If they're dealing with the tumble block, let's say, I'll just set the scene for you. Let's say a kid walks in and they've been able to do their round off back handspring back tuck for like 5 years. And then out of nowhere, or it seemed as it came out of nowhere, maybe the kid didn't even fall or anything. They didn't have an injury, but out of nowhere, the parent reaches out to me like, oh my gosh, my kid, she's on this level of a team and she's got competition coming up. She needs to do her handspring tuck, yada, yada, yada. And so they come in, they see me, and I talk to the kid. I spend time with the kid. I spend time listening to the kid, to the mom, and I haven't even said anything much at this point. And we step into the gym, the kid warms up, gets stretched out, and then within a few minutes, the kid is doing the skill by themselves. This is the punchline. And this is what I've learned. The reason why, as I've gotten a little bit deeper on these things, and you can apply this as well, whether you're a parent or a coach. The ability to sit there and listen and validate the way that they feel. So, what does that mean? Validating something doesn't necessarily mean that you agree with it fully. Now, whenever a kid comes and works with me and they're scared to do a skill that they're physically able to do, when I hear them talk about it, and I know that they're physically able to do it because they've done it before and they've competed it and all the different things, there's no way that I can sit there and look at that kid and tell them, don't be scared, and expect for them not to be scared. And it's silly for a parent or any coach to do that to a kid. If that's the way that the kid is feeling in that moment, you have to listen to that. You have to allow for them to be able to express, you know what, coach? I don't know why, but I'm scared of doing this. Mom, I don't know why. I know you've spent thousands of dollars on training and trying to get me past this tumble block. I don't know why, but I'm still scared. And if you just continue coming back with, well, I know that you can do it. Don't be scared. You just need to try harder. You need to want this skill more than you're scared of doing this skill. You're not listening to the fact of they're just saying, I'm scared. Everybody's telling me not to be scared, but I'm scared. And so this is what I figured out. The thing that I do differently for the most part from what I could see just on the surface is I listen. I listen to the kid. And when I hear them say I'm scared, I'm like, hey, you know what? That's okay. Tumbling it is scary. And then they continue telling me all the things they need to. Last time that I was on here, I'm pretty sure Brandi, I gave this story uh, of this kid that she came to my gym. Long story short, we were standing there talking before we did any tumbling, and she started like I could tell she wanted to cry, and I could tell that she's not allowed to cry at her gym. So I told her, you know what, Carson, that's the way you're feeling, just cry. And she just started crying right there in the middle of my gym. And then within moments, we stepped onto the mat, and she started doing the skill. And so all I did is I allowed for her to be able to express that emotion. And it a lot of times it doesn't even come down to me getting super technical and going through all these different methods that I use, which I do that as well. But I want to give you guys something that you can use, whether you're a coach, whether you're a parent. When your kid's talking to you about the way that they feel, that's how they freaking feel. Just listen to that. Now, again, going back to that word validating, what you have to do is you have to understand what can I really empathize with them on? As human beings, we all get scared. We're all scared of something. So when you're scared of something, and that's the way that you feel, that's just the way that you feel. You can't just force yourself to turn those feelings off. When your kid is saying that, hey, I'm scared of doing this, even if your logical brain is like, yeah, but you can do it because you've done it before and you know how to do the skill, and you just go straight to those things, you have to understand that in that state of mind, whenever they're feeling the way they feel, they just need to be heard. They need to be seen and they need to be heard. So this is me pleading with you to just listen to them. And then from there, you can figure out ways, okay, I understand that you have this fear that's going on with your tumbling. Let's figure out what steps we can take together to help you to be able to work through this, to be able to not just get past it and get over it and overcome it, but how can we work through this so that they know that you're willing to work hand in hand with them and you're willing to put in the work alongside them to be able to work through this together as a team, whether you're a parent or you're a coach, but not, you just got to get over this. You just got to start doing it and not listening to the way they feel. So if you guys don't take anything else from this, listen to validate the way that your kids feel because that's how they feel. But that doesn't mean on the flip side of the coin, that doesn't mean, oh, you know what, they're just scared. That's fine. They're never going to get the skill again. Just let them keep being scared. That's not what I'm saying at all. Listen to the way that they feel so that we can find a solution to be able to move forward.
I love this because what you're really talking about is what's innate to all of us as humans is feeling safe. So, like, if I don't feel heard and that feeling of fear or scared isn't validated, then there must be something wrong with me, with it, which then all of a sudden leads to I must not be a part of the pack, which then creates this sense of separate from the village, which then creates the fear. Because primitively, like fear, I love to talk to people because on a neuroscience level, fear is very primal. Like it's a neurophysiological response. Fear is just information from the brain, right? Like it's just an emotion which comes from the brain. It's telling us something. And it's interesting because we're so primal of beings that if we aren't part of the pack, like back when we were, hunters, gatherers, and caveman and women, right? You needed to be a part of the pack. One person hunted, another person gathered, the other one fished, the other one did the gardening. And if you weren't a part of the pack, you didn't get fed. And so, like, social acceptance and social validation was part of the I get fed survival response, which we know in epigenetics, which is passed down, we all have this innate response. So I love like it's such a simple thing, but I'm going to read some of the comments here in a second. But it's such a simple thing that um, you would think that we would all be really good at it, but we've become so high brain functioning that we're always trying to push our point unconsciously. Like, well, the point is we have to get over this thing. The point is this is in the way of me as a parent making sure that you do the next thing, or it's in the
Hmm.
way of me as a coach making sure that if I'm on a cheer team, my whole level 5 team has all its flyers and tumblers. Or if I'm, on a competitive gymnastics team, that, XYZ happens for me.
Yeah.
And so, because we've been so blindsided by this, it's part of what's Maslow's hierarchy of like safety, right? So I love just that simple, like, yep, I get it. You are totally scared. It is definitely scary to do a round if I can spring. Like, I get
Yeah.
it. That's
Yeah.
hard. Yeah, I think just like being able to validate that, it really does, because what you're describing is that these athletes are finding a sense of safety in your
Hmm.
in your language, which I think is amazing, and really important, and not a major skill set to have. Like you don't
Yeah.
have to know how to teach a technique to be able
Straight
to
up.
create a sense of safety for your child.
Yep.
Um, and I think as a parent, I think one thing we have to be really cognitive is that we are innately their place of safety. So if they're not getting validated from us, it's almost like 10 people not validating them.
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
our
Hmm.
power neurologically, our connections to our children are so, it's called co-regulation. And there's so much that's been ingrained from that parent-child relationship that they really are seeking to us for that validation. If you think about it, I mean, even raise your hand if you're in your 30s or 40s, but like even now, you're always looking for mom and dad to say, great job. Like,
Yeah.
really proud of you, right? Like,
Hmm.
no matter how independent or how successful or how much we don't get successful, whatever, we're always going to look to parents for validation. And so I think as a parent, you have a really powerful playing card that he's teaching right
Hmm.
now, which is just that safe place to validate that those feelings are true and it's hard, and we'll figure out a way to manage this together, whether it's working with the coach or whatever this happens to be. So Katie wrote in that she said that we were touching base this last week, and that she's loving this emphasis because it's something that they're working on with her little sensitive emotional pay. She calls her pay. She said right now we're recognizing that her and dad are great listeners and supports for her doing what she wants, whether it be compete or just recreational or nothing. But she feel that we aren't the listeners that she needs, or that being sensitive to not getting a skill the first, second, or third, or 10th time and feeling like you're a failure. So Peyton's current trigger is not, so she's talked about Peyton a little bit. Peyton's a little 7-year-old perfectionist. And so she kind of came wired that way. And so she's kind of hard on herself when she doesn't get something first or second time, and or even 10th time. And so she's feeling like she's a failure. But she said dad and her were talking and saying that she doesn't want to disappoint us and that she wants to change, even though we wouldn't be. Okay, so this is okay. I'm going to rephrase this. And Katie, you tell me if I'm wrong, or you're welcome to also pipe in and unmute. But this is a parenting struggle for sure. That like you as a parent, like, and I know Patricia also feels this way. We've had conversations. We don't care if they compete, don't compete, or they choose to do a different sport. Like we're just there to support them. We love them no matter what, right? But the child somehow feels that they're being like they want to please the parent, even though the parents kind of got this feeling of like it doesn't really matter, we love you no matter what kind of thing.
Yeah,
uh,
so Peyton has the middle child syndrome. She's got a big sister right above her, 13 months older. Both of my kids are smart and strong in their activities. And so if she is working on a task that, whether it be gymnastics or school, that she realizes either her or her friends or Audrey or whoever got it fairly quick and she feels like she should too, but maybe she struggles a little bit or isn't getting it, then she shuts down. She starts to feel lost and everything. And so, yeah, I'm fully on supporting and hearing what our kids are complaining about. But at the same time, how do you deal with kids having complaints that may not actually be there because they're trying to manage their own situation that they're struggling with. We do have counselors starting to get involved just to make sure there's nothing underlying, but I want her to be strong in gymnastics, and her weakest link is the bars. And every time she's gone to bars, at least once every 2 weeks, she walks away crying, and the coach has to come and bring her to me because she gets upset about something. And so we're working with her, but I know that she wants to make everybody happy, and she feels like, even on her bad days, we ask her, Peyton, are you sure you want to compete? Are you sure you want to do this? Is this too much for you? She's like, no, mom, I want to do it. I want to do it and everything. She's like, I'm okay. But I know my dad and I were talking and about it this morning, when I was talking about the counselor, and he's like, he made a good point. He's like, she doesn't want to disappoint you. So of course she's going to tell you yes. So we're getting that outside source, a third party that, is non-biased about the whole situation. But how do you manage being that support that you want to be as a parent, but the kid maybe feels like I obviously she trusts me. She knows I'm her biggest cheerleader, but that emotion isn't there. And now granted, she is 7, so I know we have a long, developmental stage to go through. But how do you manage that at such a young age of trying to be like, we want you to do what you want to do. You're not going to disappoint us, but how do you get that across to those?
Can I say one thing developmentally? So number one, all children want to please whoever they look up to, especially parents and coaches. Like there's a very small percentage of children that like don't want to show up and please. That's number one. And then between 7 and 10, especially little girls between 7 and 10 years old, that desire to please is really part of their developmental process, that they have to work through. So that's one piece of that is normal. And then I would love to hear what Levi has to say on the other end of that.
Yeah, Katie, what I would say is one based on what Brandi said is if this is a, or not if this is definitely a point in where she is in her developmental stages. And then just as people in general, no matter how old you get, you want to please your parents. So understanding that, accepting the fact that she's going to want to continue to please you guys. And I know that's the thing that throws a wrench in there, because then you're like, well, is she just saying that she wants to because of wanting us to be okay with the fact that she's still doing it? Um, what I would say is, as parents that put our kids in sports, I believe that any good parent, at the end of the day, we want sports, whatever sport the kid chooses to do, we want that to be a way of helping them to develop resilience and to develop the ability to work through hard situations and work ethic and all the things that come from sports. Gymnastics, it just happens to be a really, really freaking challenging sport, physically, mentally, emotionally, and all the things. But I talk often, I have this whole presentation that I give to different groups that's called Why a Tumble Block is the Best Thing That's Ever Happened to You. And I just go, I change the perspective as to why this thing that's happening in this pivotal point in your life, as long as you have the right support system and people that care about you around you, why this is going to help you to be a better person for the rest of your life. It's going to develop skills within you that nothing else can at this stage in your life, and learning how to work through hard situations. So I think when it comes down to it, whatever the reason is, whatever your daughter, whatever the reason why she's saying, yes, mom, I want to do it, whether she's doing it in order to please you or she truly just wants to do it herself, as long as you guys stay there and support her in the best way that you know how. And as parents, we never have it figured out. Like, we never ever have it completely figured out. So do the best that you can with what you're doing. The fact that you're here, you're part of this group, shows that you care so much already. And there never, ever, ever will be a time when you feel like you've got it figured out completely. And I think that the one of the best moves that you guys could have made was getting her in some level of counseling to where, like you said, that third party can talk with her and maybe pull some things out of her that she doesn't feel comfortable sharing with you because of feeling like she's going to disappoint mom and dad. So the fact that you guys are doing that is huge. And you as mom and dad you guys have conversations with each other and say, hey, what's the reason why we're doing this? We're doing this because we want our daughter to be the best human being that she can possibly be. And she says that she enjoys gymnastics. If she enjoys gymnastics, awesome. She's going to keep doing gymnastics. If she's just lying to us saying that she enjoys gymnastics because she wants us to think she loves gymnastics, she's still learning these very valuable, priceless lessons from it, even if she's just saying that to please you guys. You can't take those lessons away from her that she's learning in the gym through the resilience of continuing to train and not give up on something difficult.
I absolutely love this, Levi. There was a couple things that 100%, 100% Levi nailed it on the head. I completely agree. I just did I did two different parent workshops recently about why. Why do we put our kids in sport? Why did we put this sport? What is it that we as a parent want our child to get out of the sport? And then what does our child want out of the sport? So we talked about that. And I very much look at gymnastics, any other sport, as a vehicle. It's a vehicle to experience, learn, and grow, and we become amazing humans from it. And I do want to I'll share a brief story maybe in a second, but there was two things that you said in here, Katie, in the chat, that I think almost every parent struggles with. And it's the struggle to watch our children struggle. It's the struggle to watch our children struggle. It's the struggle to watch them cry. It's the struggle to watch them have what we call negative emotions, but they're not really negative. They're just hard for us to watch. It's hard for them to watch them be angry, frustrated, sad, and sometimes they go through a little bit of depression because everybody else got something and they don't got it. They don't have it, right? But like, that's where I always double down on the why. For me as a performance, like, so a great example, I have coached athletes that were this close to the Olympics. I've coached athletes that were this close just recently to making world team for one event where he might have medaled. And that was his one goal. And I watched them crumble on the last moment. Things they not done before showed up. Like, it just became too much. And I'll tell you, working with this athlete from 8 years old to 23, and we didn't make Olympic team, it was hard. It's a hard watch. It's a hard fall to have. And it's not even I just watched him grow. I've been with him this whole journey, right? So the thing is that I have to say, 1 year later, post Olympic trials, that athlete is like, I didn't know he could get stronger, but he got stronger. Like, I already thought, I'm like, this guy is really strong, mentally, emotionally, spiritually strong guy. And now I'm like, man, he's even stronger, even stronger. And so that being said, like, I always try to double down and remind myself, what is my why for why I want my child in this activity? And if my why really is I want to watch them grow, I have to remember that in life will give you lemons and you have to make lemonade and you will fail. Yeah. And you do have to get back up. And part of a whole generation of people, they're called failure to launch children, who are still living in their homes with their parents. They weren't allowed to fail somewhere, and they didn't experience the idea of failing and having to do a really hard thing to get back up, and sometimes failing publicly. Like all of these things are very important. And so I think that, like what Levi, you were saying, like having that space to go, it is hard. I understand, honey. Like, I do understand it's so hard, but you're so strong and I'm watching you grow. We're here right next to you. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not here to solve it. I'm not here to give you fake happy highs, good job. I'm not here to tell you, hey, cheer up, let's go get some ice cream. No, you want to feel crummy today? Feel crummy today. Today's a bad day. You didn't go for it 10 times. Today sucked. Let's enjoy the suckiness of it. And then tomorrow's a new day. You know, what do you want to do differently? What did you learn from today? What didn't work? What did work? Right? Just those kind of things. It's a learning experience. For me, I struggled with a flight issue, a flick lay on beam for 3 years with fear. 3 years. And I lost everything over it. I literally Had an injury that put me out nine months. The injury was not related to the skill. It was related to gymnastics, but I had surgery and all these things. That being said, my fear got worse during that 9-month period. When I came back, I lost my college scholarship because of the injury. I was supposed to sign the scholarship on Saturday. I got injured on Friday. 6 weeks later, I got the long letter saying, hey, we gave your scholarship away. You're welcome to walk on. I thought my whole world was over. I almost joined the Navy. I didn't, but then I went on and I walked on. And that year I pulled mats and I got a national championship ring for pulling mats. I was on fire and upset, as that was not what I wanted. I wanted a ring that I contributed to. And so I went back, and that forced me to go in, and I got skills on every event I had never even done for the first time ever in my life. And I said, I'm coming back to September tryout month, and I'm going to earn me a spot, and I'm going to compete, right? And I came and I improved my fear, but I still didn't have 100%. I hit that skill 100% when I went for it, a flick lay on beam, but I was only going for it at the time when I lost, when I first came back the year and I was just pulling mats like 20% of the time maybe. And then I was going for it 60% of the time, but that was not enough for college. So I got completely cut from the team, 1 year off the team. So this is 3 years out of no competing. And my dad, I have to tell you this. This is one thing I have to share that will always forever be in my heart about being a parent when your child struggles. I don't know how my dad did this, but every single home meet, we didn't have a lot growing up. My dad had, I had a little brother. He was 2 at the time. He lived about 4 hours away from where my college was. Every single home meet that freshman year, he drove and he sat in the stands. And he waited until we were done with all of our assignments, and he came down and gave me a hug. And he would stay for dinner, and then he would turn around with a 2-year-old, and at midnight, by the time everything was over with, or it was like 10:30, 11, sometimes midnight, he would drive 4 hours back with a 2-year-old. And he did that every single meet my freshman year when he knew I was not going to see the light of day to compete. He knew I wasn't going to be up there. And he knew I was just on the inside boiling because I wasn't getting to do what I loved and wanted to do. But I'll tell you, he never said a thing. He just hugged me, said, it's going to be all right. Keep at it. Do what you want, right? And then sure enough, I did that. And I came back my sophomore year and I finally figured out how to get over my mental block at the time. I found my own techniques and stuff, right, that worked out. And I use those with athletes now. So that's the other win out of this. So then I came back and I earned a scholarship for beam. I earned a scholarship for that flight that literally in high school, senior year in high school, I'd be in calculus class, AP calculus, sweating, going, it's a beam day. It's a flight day. Today's the flight day. And my hands are sweating, my heart is racing, just thinking about the flick lay. And I went from that girl to the girl who got kicked off the team, lost scholarship, got kicked off, to the girl that actually earned a scholarship and was third up in college. Third is always the one that hits, the most consistent, because the first 2 people, if they fall, you're already counting a fall. This was back when it was 6 up, 5 count. And so I earned that spot. And I ended up contributing to a national championship ring that I got on beam and vault. And he gave me a scholarship that year. No one in the history of Texas Women's University ever got cut and came back and got a scholarship. No one actually got cut and came back. They got cut and came back and tried again and got cut. But no one came back in. That being said, fast forward, look how many athletes I've helped and how this has grown from it. How I got published in an international journal based on the wrist and how to load it, which was part of my injury. I realized that there was a gap between medicine and sport. And I created my business out of it. There's so many things at the time where I thought my world was over. The amount of hindsight 2020 of what really became out of it, that's the blessing. So I love it. I'm like you, Levi. When someone has their first injury and it's their first experience with pain, or they have fear, I'm like, what a great blessing. I've actually had people fail, and I say to them, I hope you fail again. And they're like, what? And I'll say it with a smile. And I'm like, no, I'm for real. Look at how much you've grown and learned from this experience.
That is
So
awesome.
anyways, I didn't mean to share my whole story or take the thunder, but I just wanted to share because number one, to brag on my dad, is
Dude,
that
that I was about to start tearing up when you was telling that story, man.
I'm not joking, 4 hours there, 4 hours back with a 2-year-old in the
That's
same day
crazy.
and came every single home meet and did
Uh,
have not have one expectation. He knew I wasn't going to compete. He knew.
mhm.
Didn't miss one though.
Yeah.
Like when I was competing, I should ask him how he feels now when I was competing, but I don't think it mattered. He just wanted me to know that he was there. And
Mm,
not to be spiritual, whatever, but I've learned that from Mother Mary, right? Like in the Christian world, this idea of that's really my role as a parent. My role, I cannot fix their journey. God has a journey for them. That's just my personal belief, but someone
yeah.
has a journey for them, however you want to believe it. And for me, my role as a parent or even as a coach, and I have to check myself. That Olympic year last year was a check. I had to check it. I was like, man, I was emotionally invested. I didn't realize it, right? But like that's my goal is just my purpose is just to walk along this journey with them and be there as support, which is what I love that you're doing, Levi. When I watch you on your Instagrams and your reels, that's what you're doing. You're walking along the journey, that 1 hour they're with you, that session that they come back, whatever it is, you're just there meeting them where they are. That's what I see. That's my observation. You meet them where they
Yeah.
are.
Hmm.
You give them space to be who they are, whatever they are that day.
Yeah.
It changes with these mental blocks. That's one part I think we should talk about with the parents is like it changes. Like one day it's a good day,
Oh Lord, I
and
can
then
speak on
yeah,
this.
tackle it.
Yes.
Come on. I mean, because it's like one day is a good day, and the next day it's like Jekyll and Hyde
Yes,
came into the
man.
gym, and it's part of the process. And so, as a
Yes.
coach and as a parent, it's really hard to stay grounded in the like let their chaos of Jekyll and Hyde happen,
Mm,
not go. But yesterday but
yeah.
you already
Yeah.
did the
Yeah.
because that's not helpful. That's not like listening to their needs. Anyway,
Yeah.
tackle it. Go on with the Jack.
Yeah. I think yeah, I'm gonna go into this for sure. I think a way that again, what we have to do is we have to understand where the kid's at. And now we have to look at it from a perspective that makes sense to us. So if you, let's say something as simple as getting out of bed. Some days, you wake up and you're feeling, you wake up before the alarm clock and you're up and you feel good and man, you turn that alarm clock off, you're up, you go, you start getting ready for your day and you just feel good. You just have you have good days sometimes. Some days it doesn't even make sense. You're like, man, I got 9, 10 hours of sleep. My alarm clock went off. I woke up, I hit snooze, I have a headache, I don't feel like getting out of bed, but you have to because if you got kids or you got to go to work, wherever the case is, you still got to do it. Now, sometimes it doesn't make sense. Sometimes if let's say that you're in sales and you crush it one day, you make every single person that you talk to, you make a sale, you're just killing it. It seems like nothing can go wrong for you that day. And then other days, you can't make a single sale if your life depended on it. And it doesn't make sense why. And whatever it is, whatever type of career that you're in, or if you're a stay-at-home mom and one day it's like your kids are little angels and they're so amazing, you feel like a wonderful mom because you did all these arts and crafts with them that day and you took them to the park and it was like this perfect Instagram reel type of day, and you just feel like the best mom ever. And then there's certain days to where it's you're pulling your hair out and you have thoughts that go through your head that you're like, I wouldn't really actually do this to my kid, but you think about the things that you want to do to your kid and you just absolutely losing it. So as adults, we have those days to where it's like, and sometimes it doesn't make sense. There's no explaining it. It doesn't even, there's no rhyme or reason to why this was such an awesome day, why this was such a crummy day. Now, as a adolescent, as a kid, when they step into the gym, they're gonna have days that they just kill it. They connect their skills 10 times out of 10. They're super pumped. And then they're going to have days to where they're not able to do it. And then the even trickier part is there's certain days where your kid goes in the gym and it's like a moment to moment thing. They may start off the first part of the session doing the skills like, oh, sweet, she's doing it, man. She's consistent with it. halfway through the session, she ain't doing it anymore. It's like, what the heck? You were just doing it. And that is just the nature of how it works. It doesn't have to make sense. I think that's another important point to make is many times we try to make sense out of these things. And as many kids as I work with, virtual or in person, when I work with athletes, there's a lot of times where I don't even try to make sense as to what the hesitation is. It's helpful if we know the reason why they're dealing with what they're going through, whether it's they had an injury or a coach yelled at them or they felt some level of pressure, whatever the cause of the tumble block was. But there's sometimes where it doesn't really matter. The reality is they're not doing the skill, they're scared of the skill, they have anxiety. And so, what can we do in this moment to make the most out of this time that we have together? What can you do in this moment while you're in the gym to make the most out of this time? And sometimes it just comes down to that. And you don't have to investigate every single little moment of why the kid's not doing it in trying to figure out every single little detail. Because if they're not doing it some days, just give them some grace. Because you don't wake up having an awesome day every single day of your life. You don't go to work and just crush it every single day. Like you're allowed to have rough days. You're allowed to have bad days or rough moments. And we have to allow our kids to do that. And as gymnastics, cheerleading, dance, another challenging thing about it is because they're performance-based sports. So it's different than keeping score every time they make a basket or every time they kick the ball into the goal. It's easy to see how to keep score of that. But when they're performing a skill in something that's at high risk, like flipping over your head in practice, they have to do that every single time. It is very emotionally taxing and draining, not only physically, but mentally, emotionally, because in other sports, a kid can sit there and shoot 1,000 baskets. They're never going to emotionally be like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to take this shot. Like I can't get the ball out of my hand. I'm just getting stuck right here. That's not going to be something that happens to them. In cheer, gymnastics, these sports where the kids they develop these blocks, flipping over the head, they have that moment to where they're in practice. It's not even a high stakes moment to where they're competing, but in practice, they have this thing that's telling them this is a bad idea. Don't jump over, don't flip over your head. And so the amount of emotional strength that it takes in that moment is really, really, it's a lot. And during during my workshops, my in-person peer management workshops, I do this little exercise, excuse me, with the parents, where I'll have a parent stand up and I'll bring them to the front of the group and I'll have them turn facing away from the crowd, away from the other participants that are watching. And I'll say, okay, um, I'm gonna count for you. I'm gonna count down, and on three, I want you to go into your back tuck. And so the parent's standing there, and they're looking at me crazy, like I'm not about to do a back tuck. Like, what are you talking about? And I just go on and on and on. And I'm like, all right, you got this. Come on, jump hard. And what I do is I'm really getting them to visualize what it feels like to jump over the head. And now my point in doing this is when you have the thought of flipping over your head, something within you is like, no, ain't no way, absolutely not. Like, don't do that. That's a very bad decision to jump over your head. The point that I want parents to feel, and those of you that are watching it, you could try this exercise on your own. When you do that, when you stay in that moment and really actually think about getting yourself to flip over that natural feeling that's stopping you, many times it's the same thing your athlete feels. Even if you're like, yeah, but they're trained to do it, they have experience, their bodies can handle, they know what they're doing. That's true, but at the same time, that natural instinct that kicks in is the same exact thing that you feel inside. When you think about flipping over your head, you're like, hex no, ain't no way. Their natural system is kicking in and saying, hex no, ain't no way, even if they know what they're doing. And a lot of last time I was on here, I talked a lot about being able to think through these things. And there's ways that you can think about the right thing to get your athlete to go, but that doesn't take the fear away. The fear, that natural feeling that you have when you're trying to flip over your head, your kid experiences that too. So it'll help you to be more understanding in those situations. If you see your kid standing there and they're doing this whole thing, they're standing there, they're trying to go into their skill, and they keep just like going like this and like looking behind them, and then like, and just that cycle of hesitation that they get stuck in. That if you're on here, you probably have seen your kid do that, or if it's on the bars or whatever skill, just like that thing that's stopping them from finishing the skill. Think about the fact that they're having that natural inclination of don't do this. Everything within their system is telling them don't do this. This is not good. If you can get yourself to feel that, you're gonna have a better understanding, which then hopefully leads to more patience. Then you can understand in that moment, well, I mean, yeah, doing a flip is scary. Even if they're trained, that natural system's kicking in and saying, this is scary, don't do it. I don't even know what the start of that whole rant was that I just went on, but hopefully I covered something during that time.
You did, you did.
Okay.
It's the idea that they can. So I don't know if you've heard of this. I don't remember what Olympian I was talking to, but it's the rule of thirds. One third of the time I'm going to feel great. One third of the time I'm going to feel okay. And one third of the time it's just going to be a really bad day. And
Did
that's
I
just
learn that
part
from
of
you?
training.
I
Maybe.
think I
I-
heard that from you
Is it?
because I've been telling people that, and I can't remember where I heard it from. I think I heard it from you. So
I
thanks,
think maybe
Brandi.
when we first talked on the phone, I probably talked about, but yeah, it was an Olympian that I worked with, and they said like their Olympic coach taught them that, like that. Look,
Mm-hmm.
one third of the time it's going to be great, and then the other third of the time it's going
Mm-hmm.
to be it's okay day, and then one third of the time it's going to suck. Like it's just going to
Yeah.
suck. And I think
Yeah.
our part as a parent is to realize that we love to see them on those days when everything's great. The days when
Yeah.
things are like this, we're like, oh, you could do better. But then on the days when it sucks, we're like, oh no, like,
Mm-hmm.
this is not okay. They're not okay. We have to help them feel better. And and to be honest, when I look back, I talk a lot about our wall that has the 45 next to the 100 on the wall. And what we talk about is just that it's really actually in that one third that things really suck. That's when you really learn who you are. Like that's when you learn.
Yeah.
Like that's like the 45 on the wall. That's when my daughter really learned that she needs to listen to instructions and also pay attention to whether she should flip the page over. That's an important thing to learn in fifth grade. I mean, like that you have to complete a task, right? And you have to follow full instructions. But like that's a great place to learn that because later in life, like when it really matters more, you have a job or you have whatever else, then I'll remember that 45, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's in that one third where things really suck. That's when we really figure out who we're made of. Like,
Straight up.
what are my tools to help me stay regulated? What are my tools to get a positive mindset? How can I stay a positive mindset when everything I've done today has failed, right? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think in the sport is such a great place to learn that.
Mm-hmm.
'Cause we need to know that. I don't know about you, but I have to be able to do that stuff daily. I'm sure you do too as a coach. Your day's not perfect and you still have to be
Yeah.
good for your athletes.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, we've got about 10 more minutes. What do you want to do? Dawn or Brienne or anyone else here? You guys have anything y'all have a something you want to ask about, or let's open it up a little bit for a few questions.
At the beginning, Brandy, you mentioned that Coach Levi had some opportunities coming up. I'd like to hear if he's going to be doing any clinics or camps or, outside of Tulsa, or where else we might be able to see him in
Connect with
action.
them. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Levi, let's talk about it. I know you have something coming up in January. Do you have something before that? What do you have going on?
Yeah. Well, who was it that asked the question?
That's Patricia.
Patricia. Well, Miss Patricia, unfortunately, I don't travel often because I stay so busy here in Tulsa and have people that come out here to work with me. What I try to do 2 times a year is I host a fear management workshop, and I do it in a way to where it makes it worth your travel. You're not just coming out and doing like a 1 hour session, then you have to go back home, but it's a 12 hours of training split between 3 days, so it's 4 hours per day. and we go really deep mentally, emotionally, physically on how to gain the tools to be able to work through the fears that the athlete is having. But then also a big part of my workshop is educating parents and giving you a clear blueprint as to how to continue to support them. That's something that I have families that come in from all over the nation that attend that, and we do our best to make it easy for people that do travel in. We have a partner hotel that's 2 miles up the road from the gym from Tumble Smart, where we have a special room rate that you can stay right there, really close to the gym. And we do everything that we can to accommodate and make things easy for the families that do travel in. So that's the next fear management focused thing that I have coming up, and that is
What is the date?
January 2nd through the 4th. So that's coming up in about five-ish months, maybe. I don't know.
And
Yeah,
do you have a
January
link? Do you have a
2nd.
link or a website where they can go?
Yeah, you can find all of my information at thecoachlevi.com or on my all of my social media platforms. If you click the link in the bio, yep, that's it. Perfect. If you click the link in the bio, you'll see all the different services that I offer. Now, this is something I talk about often. Tumble Blocked Moms Tribe. And what this is at the beginning, I mentioned the community of moms that I have that are all on a similar journey. Within the Tumble Blocked Moms Tribe, you will find tons of resources and trainings and stuff that I do, that I continue to add exclusive content to that community. But then also it gives you the ability to be able to have access to my travel packages. And what my travel packages are, it's a it's 4.5 hours of one-on-one training, broken up into 2 days. So this allows families that travel in to be able to get a good amount of one-on-one time with me and to make the most out of their travel. So there's kind of another way that it makes it easy for people that do travel in, or makes it more worth their time coming in for more time in the gym with me. So now the only way that you get access to those travel packages is by being a part of the Tumble Block Moms tribe. The reason why I do that is because I used to release my travel package weekends on just like on my website, or I would do it through social media. I'd post on Facebook, Instagram, but they would go so quickly. Now that's a good problem to have, but the reason why I saw that as a problem, because I would have a lot of people that were truly invested into what I'm doing in my coaching and my methods. And then it would just be some random person that happened to come across my Instagram that day, just like waltz right in and takes one of those spots that someone's been waiting months to get in with me. So this slows things down and it just makes it more exclusive for those individuals. So that's a couple of different ways that you can work with me, although I don't travel often to different areas of the nation to coach.
Thanks, Levi. So Dawn, do you have something? I think you're unmuted. You can come off.
Yes, I was just trying to send you a message that said that. There you go. So what is helpful language to give to a frustrated athlete whose body is resisting performing through their fear? They've made lots of steps forward, but then either because of fear or fatigue, they're just standing on the beam and not going. And their coach said, that's okay. Today is not the day it's going to happen. So let's just climb down and focus on other things. Like the coach, I think, handled it very well. But what is some additional language? Because the girl still got very frustrated with herself, felt defeated. So what's some good language we could gain for?
Is it your daughter personally, or your coach?
No, I'm the team director and a coach, but this was for one of our other groups. And
Gotcha.
the coach brought it to me and said, she was so down on herself. She doesn't
Mm-hmm.
usually cry, but she was so frustrated. And so I wanted to see if we had more language we could use.
Okay, I'm gonna share a
as the coach.
concept with you guys. Can you see my screen, Don?
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna go through this quickly because I know we don't have a lot of time and I gotta get to a school that I'm coaching at this afternoon. But there's this thing that I want to share with you that maybe Don, you can share with all of your people at your gym. Um, and Brandy, you do the people have access to this recording later. Is that true?
Correct. Yes.
All right,
Yeah, they will.
perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna explain this concept that it would be beneficial to share with maybe all your athletes and coaches at some point in time. Make sure y'all can see it. Can you see those 3 boxes?
Yeah, we can see them.
Okay. All right. So we have these 3 energy tanks, is what I call them. You got the physical, the mental, the emotional energy tank. And so we're going to pretend like each one of these energy tanks are completely full right now. Ideally, whenever an athlete comes into the gym, they're physically, mentally, emotionally full. Now, for us as adults in coaches, we understand what physical, mental, emotional means. But to break it down to make it make more sense, especially if you're explaining this to an athlete, you have your physical. So if an athlete, let's say that they just did an hour of conditioning, so like some super hardcore conditioning, um, ran a mile, did a bunch of rope climbs, whatever it is that you do at your gym. At the end of this, when they're physically exhausted and their physical energy tank is, oh, dang it, I didn't mean to do that. Their physical energy tank is like little to nothing. Would this be a good time to say, hey, you know what, we're going to try that skill that you've been struggling with on the beam now that you're completely physically exhausted? Of course, the answer is no. That wouldn't be a good time to try a skill that an athlete's struggling with when they're physically exhausted. But I talk about that part first so that it makes more sense on these other 2. So we have our mental and we have our emotional energy tank. So the mental energy tank, what the mental energy tank is, that doesn't necessarily mean like your ability to mentally be tough and fight through something. What I mean by the mental energy tank is that's your ability to be able to focus. So for instance, on this call right now, we've been on here for coming up on an hour. All of us, we're probably getting to the point where we're getting a little bit mentally exhausted because there's just been like tons and tons and tons of information, right? So then you can kind of start daydreaming or just not focused exactly on what's being said. Or a good way to explain it to athletes is if they're working on an assignment, let's say it's a book report, and they read through a page, and I'm sure this happened to all of you as well. You read through a page, and then by the time you get to the bottom of the page, you're like, what the heck did I just read? So you got to go back to the top of the page, and then you read it, and you're like, I just read that 2 times, and I couldn't even tell you one word that I just read. So when you get to that point, then you know I need to mentally take a break. Sometimes that means just doing something mindless, scrolling aimlessly through TikTok or watching a mindless television show. But whenever you're mentally exhausted and that is gone, in the same way that physically, that wouldn't be a good time to try a skill that you're struggling with or maybe a new skill to you. So if you're mentally exhausted, and sometimes a kid may walk into the gym, they're already mentally exhausted because they've just been through a full day of school or whatever the case is. Mentally, they may already be exhausted. So that would not be a good time for the athlete to try to do that skill. Now, here's the thing. This is the most challenging one to understand. And it sounds like the girl that was struggling to do the skill on the beam, she was probably emotionally exhausted as she was standing up there and she was trying to do whatever skill it was she was trying to do. Every time that she was not able to do it, she was not successful in doing the skill, I'm sure that her emotional energy tank went down just a little bit more each time. And then the next time that she tried it, her emotional energy tank started going down more and more and more. Then she got to the point to where her emotional energy tank was just completely gone. Like she had no more ability to be able to continue to press towards trying to do the skill emotionally. Here's the challenging thing. What you'll find. Sometimes you may have an athlete walk in the door that physically they're at 100% because they ain't done anything yet. Their physical energy tank is really high. Mentally, they haven't got any training from you. Maybe they had the day off of school, so they may even be mentally 100%. But then emotionally, they may be drained. That's a hard one to know because you never know whatever's going on at home or whatever happened to them at school or if there is a bully or whatever the case is. So emotionally, they may already be drained, and
And
you're looking at
don't
them,
forget hormonal changes too with our tweens and teens. That's a whole nother like normal
girl.
physiological response that, by the
Yes.
way, comes into the gym and we're not
Oh
having any
yeah.
patience for it. The other thing I think that people are also not realizing is when they have started their menses cycle, there is a huge energy shift during menses cycle because they're bleeding. And people don't realize
Oof.
that there is a
Yeah.
physiological thing happening that affects all three of those tanks, by the way, physiologically.
Mm-hmm.
So I just want to
Yes.
put that out there because so when I grew up in the sport of gymnastics, we were considered to be, it's less so now, but we were considered to be little robots. And it didn't matter if you were on your cycle or not, or like if you had a good day or you had standardized testing or not, like it didn't matter at all. I feel like more coaches have an awareness now, right?
Good. Yeah.
Because we can create mental blocks on those days. Like they did
Oh, straight
standardized
up,
testing,
man.
whatever. Like it's better to help make that call. But you have to create a culture where it's not a punishment, where it's just a reality.
Yeah, that's so true. And so that's that one right there, whether it's they're going through some girl stuff, whatever the case is, that emotional energy tank gets overlooked because we're looking at it like you just came in the gym, you're not tired at all, you're ready to go, you should be crushing the skill right now. Maybe they haven't been in the gym that long, so it's not like you've worn them out mentally with a bunch of instruction. So it's like if this one is gone though, their emotional energy tank is gone, whether it's at the beginning of the practice, it happens somewhere mid through, then it's gonna be pointless to try to get them to continue going. So, Miss Dawn, what I would encourage you to do is maybe share this training with your athletes, with your coaches, or even you could just do like a little internal thing with your coaches, but help them to help the athletes to recognize where they are at in each one of these energy tanks, because then you're going to be able to know how to approach it. Now here's the thing. I think as Brandi was saying, kind of like old school coaching was they didn't really care. They didn't really care about anything. It's just like hardcore. And when people are like, well, I'm old school, it's like, well, is that the best way though? Being old school? Like, is that the best way to approach things? So I think or I know what is beneficial for your program, what's beneficial for every athlete is learning how to pivot and make adjustments in your lesson plan. And now I get it. I am a very, very detailed oriented coach. When I go and I'm training a team, I have things planned from it's like if you look at my schedule for whatever practice I'm doing, it's moment by moment. Like every single minute's accounted for. Sometimes though, I get in there and have to make adjustments. I'm like the overall atmosphere, what's going on here in this gym right now. I can't go through this. This is not going to be beneficial to the athletes. It's not going to be beneficial for me as a coach. I'm just going to be driving myself nuts, pulling my hair out. Even on a one-on-one session, strategically plan every single lesson that I have come in to work with me. And I may come up with this amazing plan. I'm like, oh, it's going to be perfect for this kid. She may come in and this girl, she came out of the bathroom a couple of days ago. This just blew my mind that she said this to me. She comes out of the bathroom and we're getting stretched out in the gym, and I'm like, "Hey, you good? You ready to go?" She's like, "I just bled through my pants." And I was like, okay. So I went and got my wife and like, I need you to help this kid because I don't even know what to say right now. But the point is, when you come up to these particular moments, you have to pivot, you have to adjust if you want to make the most progress, especially long term with your athletes. Just because you're stuck on, oh, we have to do this exact plan today and this athlete has to hit this particular skill, it's just not going to work. Not last week, I wasn't on here last week. A couple months ago, I just recommended that you guys check this book out. So I'm going to recommend it again. But in this book, it talks so much about it doesn't matter what level your athlete, your gymnast is at. I think a lot of times like the higher level athletes or coaches are like, well, well, my kid is at this point and they're ready to go to the Olympics. But this guy, he talks about how it didn't matter. The most beginner level up to Olympic level athletes, how he had to coach each kid the way that they specifically need to be coached. How he had to coach every single team the way that it needed to be coached. And within that team, he had to coach every athlete individually within the team of it being coached and the way it needs to be coached. And that is what a skilled, qualified coach who cares does. That's what I believe I'm paid to do when someone's paying me to help their athlete is that I'm paid to figure out what does that athlete need, not what does Coach Levi have that's bringing to them to just force them to do, but it's like what does this kid need, and then I'm gonna figure out what I can do in that moment to present that thing to them. So hopefully, Don, this whole thing helps, and I add a bunch of extra just talking in there.
I absolutely love that you talked about the physical, mental tank and emotional tanks. With the kids, because I do think emotional and mental tanks get left out a lot. And sometimes
Yes.
I think people are starting to understand mental, but they don't necessarily even. I think also what I love is that you're also teaching the athlete to begin to gain awareness. I talk about
Yes.
mental and emotional bodies. We set goals around
Mm-hmm.
them. We do check-ins, but it's a key of like teaching the athlete of awareness of like how full is your tank today?
Yep.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
have
Yep.
any tools that you would give, like just one tool that you would give for someone to help build their emotional tank if they are coming in and they're low and before you start to like tumble, like what might you say, like if you figure out like, and the athlete has enough awareness, you've worked with them enough that the athlete has enough awareness to go, yeah, my emotional tank is just low today. And maybe they can tell you why, maybe they can't, maybe
Mm-hmm.
something threw them off at school. Do you have any techniques that you use with them where you're like, okay, let's fill your emotional tank or at least get it up a little bit before we start tumbling?
I think one, just the getting them to the point of understanding. That's just like the emotional intelligence, which is difficult for
Yeah,
any person. But just getting them to understand where they're at is huge and to be okay with it. Not judge themselves based on like, I just ain't really feeling it today. And then giving them some motivational speech to be like, well, we got to do it anyways. Allowing them to be like, hey, you know what? Today was just a really crummy day. I don't feel good. I'm aware that I don't feel good emotionally. And maybe just having a conversation with them,
yeah,
and you don't got to get into details as to everything they're going through, but just sit there and listen because you may be the only person, the
yeah,
only adult that has listened to that kid that day, because their mom probably was like, come on, get ready for practice, you got to go, come on. And the kid's like, mom, I'm not really feeling good. Well, I don't care, you got practice, so get in the car. And teachers not caring about how they feel, it's just like, well, you got to turn this assignment in. So you as a coach, you may be the only person that's sat there, listen to them, even if it's 3 minutes. Just listen to the kid talk and express how they're feeling. That alone will allow them to get some of those yucky feelings out just by talking about. And that alone that will probably make them feel lighter to be like, hey, you know what? Thanks for listening, coach. I'm ready to go crush it now.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I love it. I love an emotional.
So
John, go ahead.
yeah, so I've already planned a thing for a Friday. Brandy knows that Fridays is team only practices at our gym. In the last 10 minutes, we always do something team wide, whether it's a shaping thing, proper planking, or ways to do to breathe, or all these different things. So I'm already envisioning 3 like plastic see-through containers
Ooh,
and filling them with something
I
and
love it.
giving this whole thing about how this is your physical, this is your mental, this is your emotional. Okay, so before you came to gym, you went out and jumped on your trampoline for 20 minutes. dump
Hmm.
some out of physical.
Mm.
And
Mm.
you
I'm gonna
got in a
steal this
fight.
from you, Don. I'm gonna steal
You
this
got to
from you.
fight with your mom, so dump some out of emotional and
Yes, amazing.
different things.
Maybe
And
they had to do a bunch of studying in class, or they
or
got called
took
in
tests,
class,
or
Yeah,
all of those
yep,
testing,
you
so
things.
got
now their
tests.
mental's
Oh,
out, or
your
they
mental.
had to go extra tutoring for math class, or,
Yeah.
then
And
maybe they got into a
and
difficult situation with a friend and they were trying to
right.
like not get in a fight, so then maybe it's emotional and mental,
Yeah.
right?
And show them that, okay, so if you're physical, like we can't really rebuild your physical too much during practice because of the time window, but you could
Yeah.
go eat a quick carb snack and drink
Mm-hmm.
some juice.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
that can help with some recovery. Or you can take less reps, but make them really good quality,
Yeah.
or something like that. So give them things for mental. I was thinking, we do things like give external cues, something that I've learned from Brandi and Yuka, and just to help them focus better. Or I have this one kid who's extremely ADHD, and she would run towards a mat and forget what skill she was doing. And so I gave her the task of,
Crazy.
before you go, I need you to look at the mat you're going on and say what skill you're doing on it.
Uh-huh.
And it has helped her. And she told her mom in front of me that helped her. I said, well, we
I
came up
love
with
that.
something to help you focus, didn't we? And she told her mom all about it.
That's
And
good.
then for emotional, another one, I like how you said to let them just talk about what's their frustration, but sometimes they don't want to share with you that they got in a fight with Susie at school
Sure, yeah.
over a boy that she likes, but
Mm-hmm.
Susie talked to her anyway, or whatever. Which is all valid. I'm not diminishing that. It's 100% valid at that age. But another thing is a teammate could give them a pep talk. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times I have
Mm-hmm.
kids that do negative self-talk. And I know about this because I am an Enneagram 1 with a very strong inner critic. And I did not know not everybody lived with that. Bless you all that don't. But I had a girl at my last gym and she would just get so down on herself, but she was the most positive, encouraging teammate to everybody else. And I said, Alyssa, if you were talking to you, would you be saying all the stuff you're saying to yourself? Or if Brooklyn was talking to you, like what, or if this was Brooklyn, what would you tell Brooklyn? Well, I'd tell her this and this. I said, why can't you tell yourself that? So there might be a way
Mm-hmm.
to even have teammates help build each other up with emotional pep talk or something.
Mm-hmm.
Another one, Don, don't
Depending
forget.
on the ages.
Don, don't forget about the developmental movement stuff though too, because you've got the lower brain and then the midbrain, right? So low brain is fight or flight survival, midbrain being the emotional regulation center. Remember, all of our developmental movement patterns work on strengthening different parts of the brain. So the belly crawling stuff, all the stuff on belly works on the lower brain, which is that survival mode part of our brain, and then all that midbrain stuff like creeping on all fours underneath a tunnel, etc., that will develop your midbrain, which is the emotional centers. So you can actually use movement to help reset centers in the brain,
Wow, that's
help
cool.
help
I need to
you
learn more about
fill.
that.
I know, yeah, we should talk more, but you can
Shoot,
help
yeah.
fill those tanks a little bit with through warm up. So one thing that would be super cool is if people would start to learn, like the kids would start to learn about their three tanks, gain that awareness, and begin to come in and say, my emotional tank's a little full. And then you can say, okay, pick, because we're giving autonomy again, pick, do you want a teammate to give you a positive talk? Do you want to go cheer on another teammate because that makes you feel good? Like, what fills your cup of joy? They could pick a cup of joy activity, because we know that if you do something that's joyful, even if you can't do it, you just think about it, you can dump some of the happy neurochemicals.
Mm-hmm.
And then, or do you want to do one of the developmental movements? Do you want to crawl? Do you want to belly crawl and see how you feel afterwards? Do you want to crawl on your hands and knees, see how you feel afterwards? But we could start to help these kids. I mean, talk about learning through sport. Like if you can, number one, step one, gain awareness of your physical, mental, and emotional states, that's like better than a lot of adults, first of all.
Straight up.
And then secondly, if you had tools that your coach has helped you create, and I've had like Doc Alley has these cards. She's another mental toughness clinical psychologist that has these little cards. But you can make these little cards that would be like all the, I don't know, all the blue cards are mental and all the green cards are physical and all the, and so on the physical tanks, it might have, eat carbohydrates, drink a Gatorade, like whatever it is. Your phone is, yeah, there you go. And then maybe there's some blue cards that are emotional, and it's like do a developmental sequence, cheer on a teammate, pick something from that makes you joyful, and do it right now for 1 minute, or maybe it's breath work, right? Because we know breath will regulate both emotional and mental states, and if those are regulated, we know that regulates the physical state. So, but I mean, what a great place to do that. Like to give them a few tools to help them
Yeah.
actually change their tanks. And again, it's within a parameter because like you said, if they went and like, I don't know, did something crazy and they've just totally emptied their physical tank, there's time that's required for some of
Yeah.
that recovery.
Mm-hmm.
But mental and emotional, sometimes just within seconds we can change those things, and depending on how heavy of the load it was,
Yeah.
right? Like depending on how heavy the load is mentally or how heavy the load is emotionally, it might take a little longer, but you can make changes pretty quickly. And even someone who's got a moderate load, within 5 minutes, you could easily make a change that will change their day.
Yes, which you would rather take that 5 minutes, they step off the beam, they go do whatever activity or just rest, whatever it is going to help to feel them. Take that 5 minutes so you could be bent so that you could have a good rest of the practice rather than no, we just got to keep going, we just got to keep pushing, and then it does the opposite, So that 5 minutes is gonna actually in the long run buy you a lot of time.
Because you have to think what you're feeding. The other thing I was going to say, one other thing, Dawn, is I don't know if you remember me showing this, but the one where and this is a great one, Levi, you just do sensory deprivation-ish as best you can with breathing. Because breathing, the diaphragm's the biggest muscle, like it gives you this huge, you can get hiccups that like move you, right? But you have to like, you can think about breathing, or when you're sleeping, you don't have to think about it. So the breath work, there's a bunch of science behind it, clearly, but it's an easy access point to consciously change the fight or flight response, or that nervous system, because you're changing the tone of the diaphragm, and it changes the nervous system. But you can just to have them cover their eyes and put their thumbs in their ears and get them in whatever position they want to, but supported. So like if you put them into a corner of a wall or corner of mats, they feel like cocooned, like in a womb, or they can lay on their back flat on the floor, knees bent, like comfortable. What I give them options, because again, autonomy, but they cover their eyes and they put their thumb in their ear, and then they focus on their breath. They just focus on their breath, normal breathing, nothing crazy. Just focus on their breath. Maybe they count their breath, maybe they visualize something. There's a lot of breath techniques, but just doing that for 30 seconds will totally change your world.
Weird.
Pretty awesome.
That is awesome.
Another thing I've seen or learned from Positive Coaching Alliance from a seminar I did with them was you can line up your athletes and ask them where they are today. And you could do these 3 categories, and they either do a thumbs up, a sideways thumb, or a thumb down. And so you can get a feel for where they are. But this is our first week of school, so I wasn't surprised that we had that. But a lot of them came in very excited from school, but some of them not as excited, and some very much a lot of exhaustion going on physically. And so I had to like modify what lines. I'm like you, I'm a very detailed lesson planner. But at the same time, I had a day where my kids were just like, they just weren't focusing. And I was like, all right, we're going to have a challenge and earn points. And that just spun it right around for them. So it just really, but I like this. I'm gonna use this in a couple of weeks. I'm gone the next 2 Fridays. So other people are leading, but I'm gonna do this in September with them. I think it'll be good. So the kids become more aware of where they are too.
Yes. And that's the bigger picture for us as coaches, is teaching them these things that's going to make them better people beyond athletes. So that's cool. Love it.
There was one suggestion. Patricia said, as a teacher, I would ask, what is your number today? So you could do the boxes, you can do the thumbs up, this or that, or you could go,
Hmm.
on a scale of 1 to 10 or 0 to
Yeah.
10. She said, and then I would follow up with how do you, so what's your number today? And then follow it up with how do you want to deal, or how much can you do? Like how much are you? That's a great one. Actually, I like to ask those questions like how many can you do? Like I
Yeah. Yeah.
like to
Yeah. Yeah.
pose that.
Yeah.
I
Yep.
love that, give that
I
autonomy,
do that.
because if I ask that, they actually usually give me a number either right on cue with par with what I'd want,
Or
or
higher than
higher.
you were thinking. Yeah. You're like, okay, yes, let's
Yeah.
do that. Yep.
We'll
That
go
happens
with
to
what
me.
you just said. You're up for that? Let's do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So yeah, sometimes they blow my mind, but actually there's a lot of autonomy research that shows that most people will give you a higher number than you actually would ask them to do when
Huh.
you're giving the chance. There's research to show that that works.
And
So
I
Yeah.
can't
I'm
remember
gonna
if it
start
was
leaning
you
into
or
that more then.
Yuka
it
talked
was,
about
so
the
Yuka and I both did an autonomy lecture together, but you
okay.
probably remember it from Yuka because
Yes.
Yuka's done several lectures. She has a whole thing on it too. Yeah.
And but you talked about that. And so that week I said, you need to do 8 to 10 of these. You pick, do what number you want, or 5 to 10. And like at least 60%, 70% chose to do all 10.
Yeah.
And like one girl was like, I did 12. I forgot.
Yeah. That's the
But they'll
stat.
do more.
The stat
Yeah.
is 60 to 70% will do
Uh,
more. 60 to 70% is the stat in the research. They'll do more. Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Well, I know we need to wrap up because Coach Levi has to go, and I have a client that's peeking at me right now. Basically, Katie has said, I've loved the info on this session, but this one couldn't have come at a better time for her. So that's
Perfect.
usually the case. I'm glad we could help. And as always, Coach Levi, you're amazing. Thank you so much for sharing your coaching knowledge and experience with us. Really helpful.
Yeah. I hope you invite me back again.
Of course, we'll figure out another time.
All
Yeah,
right.
you figure out if you want to come back, in the next, yeah, whatever time. If you want to come in one more time before the end of the year, we have some time for sure.
Cool.
Dawn said thank you. There's several
You're
other thank
welcome.
yous.
You're welcome.
She said, Katie says, get ready for some DMs on TikTok.
All right. I'll be ready.
But you guys, though, just a reminder, you can follow him on Instagram or TikTok at the Coach Levi. And then also you can go to thecoachlevi.com and check out his camp he has in January, the fear management camp, 12 hours with him and a bunch of other stuff. Sounds amazing. So yeah, it is in Tulsa, Oklahoma, but they'll help you get traveled. And it's on
Yep.
Christmas break, so good timing.
Yeah. 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 Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Levi. We'll talk
All
again
right.
and see when you want to come in.
Sounds good. Thank
All right.
you. Bye,
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Have a great day.